I'm doing a quick live. I'm actually going to be on the road, so I'm going to block myself a little bit if you don't mind. This is going to be a quick one. I didn't even expect to do one. And there was just some points that, sometimes you get inspired. And I think my channel, a lot of people are going through similar stuff, and I like to help however I can. So I hope that you guys are having a great day. I kind of shared a little bit. I do not go into personal rhetoric, although it is good to learn something now and again from what you go through. And this can be stuff that happened years ago. And, I'm pretty good at, like, I would be a really good author, as far as making different narratives and maybe changing the names or making it at a different time, a different place. A lot of my content should be put into a damn book. And it's funny, I've always been really inquisitive, and a lot of people growing up, especially the ones who are shady, who try to, keep things under the vest, or, those type of people are a little too shifty for me. So if I see that they're really closed off, well, shoot, I'm not opening my book, right? Like, why should I, right? And that's how you have to be, because everyone is always trying to one up each other. So I had this person, I remember years ago, ironically, it was my child's father saying, "Oh, are you writing a book?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding? Yeah, maybe one day I will. Go figure. So watch what you say, because yeah, we'll see how much goes into whatever book." As if that chapter was so interesting, right? It was the biggest snooze fest. It was the biggest what the F. I should have knew better. I was too smart for the situation. And I look back on it, and, a lot of people are giving women a hard time, that have kids or whatever. I feel like it's quite a topic. And it's interesting how some women kind of try to demoralize other women in similar situations. And if I only knew sometime in the future, back in the day, that we would be here, it would definitely cause me to pause. But at the same time, I did the steps that I would have did regardless, right? That's like finding money on the ground, and you give it to the rightful owner, or you find their wallet or whatever. Would you go back, like, okay, if you lost your job after the fact, would you be like, oh, I wish I would have kept that wallet and did all this stuff? No. So, like, I am not sitting around regretting, oh, doing the right thing, when I knew that it was difficult, but, the person begged me too. And I even said to their face, I feel like I'm going to be struggling, even though they were pursuing or whatever. But women, we have that intuition, like, deep down, especially with some controlling people. And when you're raised in certain narcissistic family dynamics, I know some people like talking about that stuff, you can tend to attract someone that reminds you somebody in your family without even realizing it. Not on anything weird, but like this, if you're, dealing with a over dominating father or mother, things like that, you'll see that, or a sibling. And it's almost like some people will set you up to fail instead of giving you the tools on what to look for to be protected. It's almost like they, will look the other way if you're in a situation that's similar, because a lot of certain behaviors will be normalized over years and years, right? So you might find yourself, like, after some time, and then look at the person like, whoa, this is some type of trauma response. If I was in a healthy space, I wouldn't even have been in this situation, like, or even have talked to you in a meaningful way, So you have to look at it and process all that stuff. And when people are trying to gaslight you or act like it wasn't that bad, no, I'm gonna throw gasoline on it and be like, listen, I don't need to gaslight them because I'm not manipulative. If anything, all I have to do is expose their bullshit. And you'll get a lot of that. And it's unfortunate. And that's what what people mean about generational, because you might see certain behavior in a parent, then you might see it in a sibling. And then all of a sudden you're seeing it, you're around that in a relationship standpoint. And that's when, some people have to do an about face and, move on from that. And, sometimes the other person's left, feeling regret later on. You never know, right? So I don't talk about certain things unless I hear about someone openly trying to disrespect me or make a smear campaign. I don't feel the need to react. But if people tend to do that to you or whatever, in a lot of situations, people are they say the most to your, behind your back and nothing to your face. So in in my in my way, I say it, I just let it all out. I don't care. I'm not trying to get heart disease for anyone or stress, or I'm not going to self medicate. No, if I'm bothered by it or if I feel disrespected, I'll say it. I'm not going to waste my time, because I know some people will try to poke or instigate. So you reach out to them or you lash out or whatever they thought you would do, right? Because a lot of people, they're still thinking of like the freaking 18-year-old you. Isn't that sad? It's like, what year we're in and how much. And so many times when I was doing the most was in private and struggling or making a way for myself, you know what I mean? And I'm not bothering anybody. I'm in a good place where, I am minding my own business. I seem to be living my life just fine. And that seems to annoy certain people, especially when you make alliances and you're friendly with people that they double cross. It's like, well, no one told you to do that. You did it to yourself, right? And that was happening with a sibling of mine, making stupid accusations. And a lot of people too, you know, they don't really care about what happens. They just sit back and watch your life like a movie. So it's like, oh, okay, that's what you're looking for. Well, guess what? I'll bring you into it, right? You'll be the kindling too. We'll use you as the fire starter if that's the case, right? Since you like to look at people and think that they should be your entertainment, right? Without and I'm not the type of person to get half a story and then already start coming for someone's neck. I think that's just grimy and disgusting. I'll make sure I have all of the facts, and still then it'll have to take me a lot. Like, you'd really have to do something to me personally or hurt somebody, right? But people will take just like their theories or what they think, right, is going on, or they'll just make up a lie. And I think it's interesting, right? And it shows how much people hate each other. And even in family dynamics or situations, like, who needs strangers when you have relatives who are worse, who act, or people that you knew for many years? So I don't even get pressed about, relationships or friendships when they go south. It's like, you know, you're not supposed to. There's no blood involved, but it gets really ugly when, the generational curses go on. And, my father did not speak to his brother for 27 years. That 27 comes up a lot. 7727. I see that number a lot. And I'm like, you're hoping that that don't happen to you. And, and at the very least, I'm like, oh, why not talk for that long? Why not hash it out? Even if you tell each other off and say all your grievances, you know what I mean? Why not at least hash it out? It's like they didn't even care enough to try, which is the sad part. But anyway, for all those who are so nosy, so you see in some videos, I was at one place, then I went to another. It's no one's business what I do behind the scenes. I have been making wise investments, and my financial status has nothing to do with anything. And I'm currently looking at where I will end up, permanently, right? I'm at a crossroads in my life. Kids are grown, what are you gonna do? I do really like my job now. I have other goals. So, you know what I mean? It's not so easy as one, two, three. You have to know where you want to end up too. So my last place, it was a larger place. I was there for 20 years. Okay, raised my kids there, did all the things and all that. But then there was they ended up having a rodent problem after a while, and I think there was structural issues in the place. The landlady passed away, so she had like a really creepy son who I always, gave him the side eye. For all I know, he could be a freaking diddler. I didn't even want my kids nowhere near him. And I would be like, stay away from that guy. He's a little, weird, right? They never said anything to me that he did anything. Oh, I'm trying to pass this one. Please, let's not scratch each other's cars here. It's kind of hard with the snow. But like, so he was always like spying on me, and even when I was single, he was always knocking on my door at odd hours of the night, trying to offer me unwanted favors, doing all this crazy stuff, and it just like ramped up more. So, as soon as the mom passed away, he like refused to fix a lot of stuff, and although yeah, it was larger or whatever, I'd rather go with something a little smaller that's more new and put together, and I don't have to worry about this stuff. So I was taking care of a lot of the issues. I was plugging up holes. I was telling them, you must have a breach on the outside because there was like a rodent issue. Like all of a sudden, I'm like, there is something wrong with this building. Then like this mold issue. So there was some time, you know what I mean, that I need, he wasn't fixing. I mean, I was without water for 10 days. I mean, my God, like the stuff that we had to deal with. So, yeah, there was a lot of issues there. And plus, um, we ended up, I could have made a claim and stuff, but I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to find another place, get the hell out of here because I know I can. And that's what I did. I just started looking around and I was like, oh, because some places, if you're there for many years, they'll wait until you leave to like, fix everything and do what everything. So like, I had a lot of potential and all that, but in the wrong hands, for someone like that, they should just sell it, whatever. I don't give a damn. I mean, my good name helped a friend of mine get one of the apartments. Like, I really looked out. Her daughter's still living there today, whatever. But like, my apartment was probably the one that needed like an update because he was supposed to fix it when the last people left and he promised to do all this stuff and he didn't. So like 8 years later, I'm like, all right, enough of this. And it was like, yeah, it was a good deal for the time. And then I was just like, all right, enough. That's a damn snowbank, guys. Oh, sand snow. Well, I'm gonna let you guys go. This is just like a quick little vid, anyways, all audio. Hopefully my volume is good. Make sure you guys like the video if you're in the room. But yeah, so this idiot was going around telling people I was evicted, all this. I'm like, what kind of freaking shitbag does that? Meanwhile, this guy's like a whole freaking pedophile, like chasing after 16-year-olds, like whatever. Right? And I'm so pissed because if I knew people like that had those tendencies, I would have never let my kids go over his house. You know what I'm saying? Like that's where I get pressed about. I'm like, oh my God. And this is a guy when my kids were small because he had kids too that were similar in age. Like, what the F is wrong with you when I'm dropping off my child? She's like freaking 7 years old and you're playing Saw movies in front of your kids and all kind of horror shit. Like, that's abuse right there. That you're feeding them all this content and then it was just like destroying their empathy. My daughter was getting all kind of behavioral issues. Then he was thinking he was cute. Like, those people that always, even when you so-called get along, they always got to say some nasty shit. And you're just like, what the hell is wrong with you, right? It's because I won't toe the line. I won't kiss his ass. Because, some people want to be a tyrant. And like, oh, okay, you should just bow down regardless. You know what I mean? So it went, it's just one of those things that you're just not going to put up with. But this is someone who is feeding their children content, feeding them soda, all kind of shit, like didn't care about their health. And then you're walking around telling everybody like you're so this and that just because you hurt your back and you got some money for your whatever, all the little scams you probably do. And I'm like, since you want to run your mouth, I'll run mine. And that's the thing. So that's how it is with some of these family dynamics, and that's how it is in the world too, because some people are like, oh, do you like talking about psychology and all that? I'm like, psychology or psyche is another word for spirit. It's another word for soul. And some people gave up their souls a long time ago. Some people, for all I know, he could be a straight Mason. He could have kissed the ring of the Baphomet. I don't know. Because the way some people maneuver in this system, it's like, yeah, okay, I don't want to be nothing like you. There's nothing to be freaking jealous of. Okay. And um, if I wasn't, so stressed out, growing up or whatever, I wouldn't even have half of the freaking issues. You know what I mean? It's like the shit that you have to deal with. And it is really, really sad because, they're talking about how men are jealous of women, like more guys are coming forward. Well, you see that really young because I remember being born in this freaking little ass hat wanting to be the little baby or the little Prince Charming and literally didn't want to go see me at the hospital, like all in his feelings at 10 years old and shit. Like, are you serious? That's why I say I freaking thank my mother, and as though me and her can bump heads and she can act really willfully naive and whatever the hell, but I give her a somewhat pass because of all the shit she had to go through. And I know I wouldn't even dealt with half of the shit that she dealt with my dad. So I'm like, listen, everyone else can kiss my ass because if it was up to other people, like, who knows? Our memory can only go so far back. I'm like, if this is how it always was, how about when I couldn't remember and it was past the time that I could remember? God knows what was done to me, right? Because you just don't know. Like, I have just messed up memories of this asshole, or like tying my tooth to a door, like when my tooth was loose, and like pulling that shit out of my mouth like some type of barbaric freaking 8th century shit. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing to me? Like, get away from me. And I'm like, I wish I wasn't even exposed to this freaking jerk that much, right? But this person literally, I was talking about when I was moving because it was a big deal. I mean, when you're at a place for so many years, you know what I mean? And that was like, my first place. And then, I upgraded the apartment to a bigger one. My kids had their own room. It was like, it was a good spot near the schools and all of that. And, it just comes to the time and like you're at a place long enough, it's like, all right, you have to make some changes. Am I supposed to just like rot away wherever people can see me? And plus, when you know that you got people that are that ignorant and that could be that rude, I when you're at a place for so long, I'm like, you know what? I don't want these cretins to know where I live, especially, you know what I mean? After, the custody, like we got to a certain age and, the kids are grown doing what they have to do. And, you know, I don't have to freaking deal with them anymore. Like, listen, you don't need to know where I live. You don't need to be all in my business because sometimes, people don't know how to keep things private. You feel like, everybody, like people can do drive-bys, who knows? And I did have that. I had people stalking. I had, ex, heartbroken people trying to get my attention again or come over. I'm like, get out of here. Like, you can't even have a functional, normal life with everybody up your ass. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go look for a place somewhere nice and quiet too, because it was really noisy in that area. I just couldn't take it. I could hear my neighbors damn near. So I'm like, listen, I'm gonna go somewhere that's off the beaten path, nice and relaxing. And I don't mind downsizing a little if it's more modern. And you know what I mean? I sold a bunch of my stuff and I kept what I needed. And I'm still, you know what I mean? I have a habit of, keeping things too long. And it was good to kind of, go through all my stuff or whatever. And I was like, gosh, I had way too much things. And I still do. That's why I need a whole separate room for that. But like, with the way things are, like, yeah, you have to know where you're gonna land. So like if you're not sure, just keep stacking your chips, keeping, things easy going. And, and especially when it's just you and someone else, like you don't need too much. And when I do get a house, I need to get something that has more land than house. I thought I wanted a bigger house. I was looking at all these different houses and I realized, over time, I was like, yeah, I kind of want something a little bit smaller. I want something with, more of a garden and all that. But it's the area, I'm kind of in between. Like, yeah, the weather has its issues here, so I'm looking at other states and doing what I have to do and finishing my certification. So, you know what I mean? Until further notice, you know what I mean? I'm not making any sudden movements. I still like to see what's happening with the family that I have here, and I like being around, at least enough to see some of them grow up and all of that. So, especially when other people were so quick to move 2,000 miles away and still try to dictate people's lives. Like, who the F are you? You don't even run your own house. Your wife's probably sucking your neighbor's peen. Go worry about what's going on in your backyard, which I'm sure is a whole Jerry Springer show. But some people feel so out of control, so whatever. Like, and these are grown ass people. Like, that's why I don't play. Like, listen, leave me alone. My siblings are hitting almost 60. Like, you're a little too old for this. Like, stop it. You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna wait now up to, like, I don't even want to deal with it. And like, everyone has a um a right to say what they have to say. And I'm sorry, I'm not gonna be like my dad and bite my own tongue for freaking 20 years and God knows what triggered them to not talk. But in these families, people are so quick to say whatever and then they like want to stay quiet. And but then when you're not there, they got the most to say. No, say it while I'm still alive. Say it while I'm still here. Say it all, and that way I can pour more gasoline onto your own head and show you what makes you so great and all the things that you got going on with you and that you got your hands in mad dirty shit. So I don't care. My life was always supposed to be different. I'll take shit slow. I don't care. I don't need to be a swinger. I don't need to be like none of you freaking creepy douchebags. Okay, I'm good. I don't need all that. If I have to be more basic so I have a moral life and more normal, then I'll have that. Just because you guys have all the cars and this and that, you guys probably got all the freaking gonorrheas, all the freaking syphilis. You all can keep that shit, okay? And all the mental illness to go around. And don't think that you're great because you're freaking throwing your schlong around at almost 60, walking around with a little kid like nobody cares. Who the fuck's jealous of that? But yeah, you're gonna sit around and that's what I'm saying. They make up stories. Oh, this person hasn't, oh, they must have got this and that. Like, no, you're wrong again, per usual, always thinking the worst because you're the worst. And that's how people are. When they think dirty and they gaslight and they minimize any of the grief that they put, you know what I mean? Just throw it right back on them is all I'm saying. It's just like, no, no, you're not gonna minimize shit. Okay. Let's talk about you since you want to be the center of attention so bad. I made my channel for me. This is not a reaction channel. This is not, oh, just this person. I did a lot of very good content, a lot of good educational law content, going into maxims of law, going into all the stuff that all the wannabes are trying to take up the torch and go forward now. Meanwhile, we're in a very immoral, unlawful, very degenerate country over here that just loves to see blood and gore no matter what form, right? And it's just obvious every day. So, yeah, just, if anything, if they're trying to put you into that category, you just throw them in there. So, yeah, let's talk about you and focus on all your issues, right? Because that's what this country does. It groomed everyone to do that. Let's just look at everyone else. We're so perfect. Meanwhile, they got freaking shit from head to toe all over themselves. Yeah, okay. I'll let God handle it. But anyways, guys, that's what happens in some of these situations. A lot of times people will never, how are you going to undo these generational curses if you're not even brave enough to speak on them? You know what I mean? And just because your parents or whatever had a certain way or certain things about them doesn't mean it has to happen to you. We can walk our own paths and yeah, we may have like some influence from them, but I have learned to move to my own drum and learn to be my own person as well too and have my own principles, and that's really important. And when people don't respect that, you keep it moving, and sometimes they can try to exploit that, thinking that, oh, you're some miss goody two shoes, so yeah, this is an easy target. I think not. I think not. Okay. And I know there is a God, and I must have angels and all the rest of them around me to give me this spirit. And I know the spirit of my grandmother is with me, also looking out for me because she was a tough cookie. She didn't let no man uh disrespect her, okay, and I really respected that about her. I'm sure she probably got a bad rap too, and if people are so bad and they didn't have the children, then we wouldn't be here. And the more people clown on others, then it's like, yeah, let's undo all the descendants after that as well too. I mean, that's where we're going with it, the more that people do that. So that's why pretty soon we're going to go to population zero. That's where we're going, right? So no need to worry about what's going on next door and all the bombing, right? There's a silent war going on right here. Okay. And it's definitely a spiritual and what they call mental illness. It's definitely a spiritual um issue, okay? Spiritual wickedness in high and low places, spiritual idolatry, okay? And when I was exposing some of that stuff, just doing it in a logical way, right? Calling out some of the pagan holidays. Everyone's like, "Oh, how dare you? How dare you?" and try to pick you apart. It's like, "Listen, airheads, then you go keep doing that. You go keep doing your fake isms because that's all you're doing. You don't care about God, the truth, and nothing. Just showing that people are mostly backbiters, right? And isn't there a wonder why you see blood moons and everything else? I think that is an indication that God is so done with this place. That's how you have to be, right? Some of us are. Have a good night, guys. Yes, don't let the gaslighters gaslight you. Just throw it right back on them, right? Because they are the ones who need to be exposed and lit all the way up at this point. Have a good one, guys. Take care.